facts that are so bizarre, they seem fake. Think this is just another load of fake news? Think again, all of the following statements are totally true. Hot water freezes more quickly than cold water. This is what's known as the Mpemba effect, named after the Tanzanian researcher who first described it in 1963. However, no one knows exactly why hot water freezes more quickly than cold. It is one of science's great mysteries, yet to be explained. It rains diamonds on Jupiter and Saturn. Storms observed on the surfaces of Jupiter and Saturn create the right conditions for diamond formation. These storms are, in fact, so powerful that they can break up methane molecules in the atmosphere of both planets. These fractured molecules then fall to the ground like rain in temperature and pressure conditions that transform them into diamonds. Chicago was artificially lifted. According to the website of the Chicago History Museum, in the middle of the 19th century the Chicago city authorities wanted to fight cholera by building sewers. However, the ground was too flat and at level with Lake Michigan. The engineer Ellis S. Chesborough came up with the idea of raising the whole city by 1 to 2 meters, 3 to 6 feet. This was carried out, building by building, over more than 15 years, without disrupting the daily life of the city's inhabitants. There are more people in Pakistan than in Russia. We are hearing a lot about Russia these days, but this country actually has fewer inhabitants than other countries with much less international clout. Russia has around 146 million inhabitants, whereas Pakistan has 194 million, Nigeria has 186 million and little Bangladesh has 160 million. A con artist once sold the Eiffel Tower. In 1925, the con artist Victor Lustig created a fake ad stating that the Eiffel Tower was up for sale. This ad was sent around to Parisian scrap metal merchants, who he invited to a meeting in a prestigious Paris hotel. One of the merchants signed a huge check for the 7,000 tons of metal. He even paid a bribe for the exclusive rights. Before learning that the Eiffel Tower had in fact never been put up for sale by its rightful owner, the Paris City Council. A family has as many neurons as there are stars in a galaxy. As recalled by this article in Slate, our human brains contain 100 billion neurons. If we take an average family with 4 members, their total number of neurons is comparable to the total number of stars in a galaxy, estimated at a few hundred billion. A lost nuclear bomb in Georgia. On February 5, 1958, 2 American military planes crashed into each other while flying over Georgia. One of the 2 aircrafts, a bomber, had to dump the nuclear bomb it was transporting to avoid catastrophe while making an emergency landing. The bomb fell near Tybee Island, on the U.S. coast. It has never been recovered. The last mammoth lived in the age of the Egyptian pyramids. Although most species of mammoth disappeared 12,000 years ago, dwarf mammoths survived in Siberia until almost 2000 BC. If they had migrated to Egypt, they might have been able to see the pyramids being built. The Great Pyramid of Giza was constructed over 4,500 years ago, in around 2500 BC. Mosquitoes are the most dangerous animals on Earth. Crocodiles and wolves are famous for being a threat to humans. However, these 2 animals are a long way from being as deadly as the mosquito. This insect kills 750,000 humans each year. It is by far and away the animal most deadly to human life, as it transmits diseases as serious as malaria. A kidney transplant leaves the old kidney behind. If you ever find yourself requiring a kidney transplant, you might be interested to know that your original kidneys are usually left where they are. In fact, they may still be able to perform some of their functions, such as urine production. You could be left with 3 kidneys. The coldest temperatures ever recorded in the universe were in Massachusetts. Temperatures in outer space can get as low as -270 degrees Celsius, -454 degrees Fahrenheit. That's colder than the Antarctic, which gets down to -93 degrees Celsius, -135 degrees Fahrenheit. But that's still warmer than the temperature that Massachusetts physicists managed to reach in their laboratory, -272 degrees Celsius, -458 degrees Fahrenheit. Horses can't vomit. It's impossible for a horse to vomit, as the muscle located at the entrance to their stomach only opens in one direction. That explains why digestive complications can be fatal for horses. The Lazarus sign. The Lazarus sign is a movement sometimes seen in certain brain-dead patients. These patients cross their arms up to their neck, before relaxing them into a resting position above the sternum, in a similar position to some Egyptian mummies. A day on Venus lasts longer than a year. It takes 243 Earth days for the planet Venus to spin around once. But it takes just 225 days for it to complete a rotation around the Sun. This makes a day on Venus longer than a year. Imagine having all 4 seasons in one day. Can openers were invented 40 years after cans. The first tin can was invented in 1810 by the French inventor Nicolas Appert. An issue quickly became apparent: they were incredibly difficult to open. Another Frenchman, Léon Bernard Claverie, came up with the idea of a can opener 40 years later, in 1850. This knife manufacturer applied for the first ever patent, certainly a good idea. The New Testament was written in Greek. The original texts of the New Testament were not written in Hebrew or Latin, but in Greek. Christians then used Latin translations, before the texts were translated into different languages over the centuries. The Egyptian pyramids were not built by slaves. It is, in fact, only in films that Jewish slaves built the Egyptian pyramids. It was actually paid workers who erected these immense edifices. They were not Jewish either, but rather Egyptians who adored their pharaoh. The last American Civil War widow died in 2004. Alberta Martin died at the age of 97 in 2004. But how could she possibly be the widow of a soldier in the American Civil War? In 1927, at the age of 21, she married William Jasper Martin, an 81-year-old veteran who had fought with the Confederate States Army. He died 4 years after their wedding. The widow later got remarried to none other than the grandson of the deceased soldier. There were no mass suicides on Wall Street following the crash of 1929. The image of bankers jumping from windows on Wall Street is no more than a myth. Between Black Thursday on October 24, 1929 and the end of the year, there were just 2 suicides on Wall Street.